Hey guys, how's it going? This is Brian from rfmods.com. I'm going to show you guys how to install the Retrofit kit into your controller and hopefully get you some good tips and tricks on how to put this in your controller. It's pretty straightforward. Everything's pre-wired, pre-soldered and cut, so you're pretty much all set, but you're going to need to do some drilling, some soldering, and some gluing. So I'm starting things off with the back of the controller. Drilled two holes in the back of the controller. As you can see, it's right on this second hole, right in the middle of it. That's where I drill my holes. Comes out really nice, just above where your middle finger will rest. Your middle finger kind of rests right here, and the mod's still really accessible. Now, when you drill your hole, you're going to come back and you're going to maybe notice a little bit of extra stuff on the edge. Just use an X-Acto knife and kind of cut that away before you throw in your buttons, and make sure that this side is clean too. Otherwise you're going to have an uneven connection. So, wow, between the button and the shell. So, what we're going to do here is you're going to see that the longer button goes on the left and the shorter one goes on the right. So that's easy enough. What you're going to do with the longer one is you're going to start with that one. The longer strand is actually, we're going to run it all the way up and around the controller. Usually what I do is I throw 2 points of hot glue right there and up there. So I'm just going to do that and come back and show you what I did. Okay, so now that I did that, as you can see, just 2 pieces of hot glue, kind of pushed it down with my finger. That's why it kind of looks messy, but nice, quick and easy, and this button's on here pretty good. You're going to have this wire in the way, but don't worry about it. There's not a bunch of room here to put a lot of glue because the controller actually rests right on this piece right here. So you're going to want to be careful of that. Just don't put a ton of glue on the back side of this button. Kind of spread it around. And then same thing goes for the right side. Make sure you keep the wires facing towards the outside, and don't get any hot glue on the silver leads, because you're going to be using that after to kind of push it down a little bit and keep it in place. So I'm just going to throw a little glue on both of these and show you what it looks like in a sec. Okay, so now that I did that, you can see how this came out. There is a good amount of glue on the left side and on the right. I threw a little bit on the top, but you just be careful. Glue comes out really quick, and unless you're an expert at it, it's not easy, and you could run into issues. So after it's done, kind of push down on the left side. Make sure that it's nice and snug against the shell, and you can even view your work. You can't really see it here, but those buttons are down pretty good. And then just set your controller aside. So now we're going to work on the actual PCB itself. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue down our chip. So our chip location is right here. We're just going to place it right there. I'll show you the chip. It's just going to sit nice and even right there. Don't worry about it too much on the left side, but the right side you do want to kind of be careful of this hole. So I'll show you the proper location, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw a bunch of glue right up and over this white piece into the left and right of it, and then I'm just going to stick down the chip. So I'll show you how to do that. And the chip, the long wire goes to the back left. That notch faces that hole on the right. So just to show you how to do that. Give me one second. Okay, so now that I got my chip in place, I just want to make sure that you do not have connections right next to these rumble motors or on the pin on the bottom there. Just make sure that's clear, both sides are clear, and you're good. Again, don't really worry about the room on this side. This side you do kind of have to worry about. Just make sure it's not touching that hole and you're fine. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect power. That is this one right here. And we're going to wrap it around this side. Let me kind of get this set. So I wrap it around like this, and then I come over to here, and it's right here, this power pin. So let me just use the knife and show you. This right here, this is the power. It's the right side for the batteries. As you can see, it comes right up, and that's where we're going to solder power to. So just kind of have it curl around, and let me grab some, twirl around, and it's going to land right there. So it'll fit nice, and then we'll just tuck it away, and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so you can see how I kind of tucked this away. Yeah, focus here. So nice tucked in away, curls right around, and you're good. So next one is ground. That's this one right here on the opposite side of power. And this does depend on which controller version you are doing. So right now I am using a CG controller. The way you can tell is if you look in the middle here, if you're using a matrix controller, let me just grab this. Right there, right here, will be a silver thing. You'll see it's big. So if that's there, you have a matrix controller, and in which case when you come back over to here, ground will be the bottom pin. Actually, I take that back. If you have a matrix controller, ground will be the top pin, and that's the one you'll want to use. But if you have this controller that I'm using, no pin there, these are brand new controllers, then you're going to be using the bottom pin. So the CG controllers will be on the bottom. So I'm just going to solder this right to the bottom, and I'll show you how I tuck that away. It's really simple. Just kind of curl it around. And this wire is long enough so that way you can reach both. Go here or down here. And kind of curl the wires a little bit before you solder them. So just curl it up, bring some solder onto your soldering iron, and then just bring it right over. And these things should solder right up. Okay, so you can see how I kind of just curled that right over the top, soldered it right to the bottom, nice and easy. So the next one we're going to want to do is we're going to want to move this wire, the really long one, out of the way. It's kind of hard to do with one hand here, but let me see if I can do it. Just kind of move the side of it down and around. You can use a little tool. Sorry, I'm kind of pushing you out in the middle of nowhere. So there you go. Just kind of push it down so it comes out and is out of the way. Nice and easy. So then move this one out of the way just for now, and we're going to want to grab this wire. This is for the center pin on the right trigger. So this is what controls your right trigger. It goes right in the center, no matter what controller you're using. So we're just going to solder that up and come right back. Okay, so you see how I kind of just curled that around. I curl it right over the pin that still has this last wire left, and then we're going to solder that up. So this one goes to the B button. The B button has to, you have to just pull off a little bit of the pad here. Sorry, I'm just repositioning. You have to pull off the pad, and that's pretty easy. I have a little tool. It's a fiberglass pen that you can use to just kind of take away some of the board. Let me show you what I'm doing here. If I can do this all at once. And it just pulls away a little bit of the board. Just got to give it some pressure. Sorry, it's hard to do while recording. But if you don't have something that fancy, you can use a knife, which works just as good, and just pull away a little bit of it until you get that copper. And once you get to that copper, what I do is I use some flux and just a screwdriver, kind of just put a little bit of it on there to make the connection go much easier. If you don't have it, I would kind of recommend it because it does make your life a lot easier when installing this kind of stuff. Just, it looks like jelly. You can get it at Radio Shack. And then just make this solder connection. It should be really easy. and then just come right back. So as you can see with the flux, the solder connection came out really nice. It's nice and shiny, and it looks good. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move that wire out of the way as much as we can to get it off that pad, because that is the B button, and you don't really want that wire to interfere with your B button. So if you're having B button issues afterwards, check out this wire and you'll find out why. So now we got pretty much everything connected on the controller. This last one actually is going to go up here, but we're going to kind of do it in a different way. It's going to run around the back, so just going to show you how to do that in a second. So we're going to move this over to the back, and on the back side of the controller we are going to be installing our dual stage buttons. This is really simple. You're just going to need some hot glue and just kind of work the buttons in here. So as you can see, there's a little window over here, and these buttons actually fit right in and curl down, and that's where you're going to want to place the button. When you place it down, you're just going to want to put a little hot glue right on the edge, right here, and kind of stick them in there. Pull the button as close as you can to the edge, so that way then when you push that trigger down, they'll click real nice. Just test the trigger a little bit first. So as you can see, it's clicking that button really nice. And then test it, and then glue it down. And we'll start with this side first to show you what it does, and then we'll move on to the other ones.